Hey, what's up? Hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome back to another video. Now today's video is going to be the first in a series of videos talking about my brand new live looping rig. Now today I'm going to take you through my brand new pedal board setup centered around the brand new BOSS RC-500 loop station. Now we're going to be running two BOSS RC-500 looper pedals for a 4-track looper pedal setup. Now the other videos in this series will probably come in 2021 when I start to sort of rejig my live looping rig, orientate around all of this new hardware that's been released by BOSS in the last few months, because seriously, these new looper pedals are absolutely exceptional. So this is my plan for the layout with this pedal board right here. We're going to run two BOSS RC-500s on the lower deck of the looper pedal. Now I've got a really clever setup for these BOSS RC-500s, and we're going to use the MIDI Sync and MIDI Slave capabilities of these two loop stations. Now I'm going to be primarily using Ableton Live as my interface for all of my audio routing effects and also for triggering samples and doing looping inside of the clip view in Ableton Live. However, 95% of my live looping will still be done with hardware loopers, which are the BOSS RC-500s. Now what we're going to do is we're going to MIDI slave the BOSS RC-500 to the tempo being sent out of Ableton Live. So that means whatever the tempo is inside of my digital audio workstation, my BOSS looper pedals will match that tempo perfectly so I can loop in conjunction with the software. And I'm really impressed with how the MIDI Sync is performing with the BOSS RC-500. Now I did a video a few weeks ago, you can check out over here, testing this out using backing tracks inside of a digital audio workstation, but this time I found even better results. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up this master looper pedal to be slaved to Ableton Live. So I'm going to take the brand new TRS to MIDI cable provided by BOSS that you can buy online, and this will plug into my BOSS RC-500 MIDI in, my master BOSS RC-500, and then the traditional 5-pin MIDI connection will plug into the MIDI out on the back of my audio interface. Now, a really cool thing about the way the MIDI Sync works on the BOSS RC-500 looper pedals is the fact we can daisy chain and pass the tempo data from this BOSS RC-500 into this second BOSS RC-500, simply by just using an aux cord cable like this one. So we're going to go out of the MIDI out of our first BOSS RC-500, and we'll send this into the MIDI in of our secondary BOSS RC-500. But the really cool thing that's going to happen here is because both of these looper pedals are slaved to Ableton Live, they're going to be running at the exact same tempo, but also be separate to one another. Whereas if you do this without a master sync from Ableton Live, this will be your master pedal and this will be your slave pedal, and whenever this looper pedal's onboard rhythm section stops, so will this looper pedal. Whereas by slaving them twice and slaving that to Ableton Live, we can use these as independent looper pedals but run them at the exact same tempo in sync with one another, which is where it starts to get really, really interesting and super duper powerful. Now, when it comes to inputting the audio into these two looper pedals, I'm going to use Ableton Live and I'll send a submix into these two loop stations. We've discussed this before in the channel. So in this video, I'm not actually going to plug anything into these input jacks because those will be handled in a later video when we take a look at building the actual Ableton Live set. But what I will plug in is actually the output cables, because we're going to use the awesome audio routing capabilities of the BOSS RC-500s. And for the first ever time in BOSS looper pedal history, we're going to have an independent out for each loop track. So obviously both of the BOSS RC-500s are dual track looper pedals, so they've got 2 loop tracks per pedal. Well, something really cool we can do inside of the settings is we can isolate each loop track to have its own independent output. So for example, loop track 1 can be outputted via output A and loop track 2 can be outputted via output B. So this means I'm going to have a total of 4 outs coming from my looper pedals, all of which will have an independent volume feed for each loop track, which will give me the ultimate flexibility when it comes to mixing my loop levels, which has got me super duper excited. So we'll connect all of these cables into the outs, and then we can route the audio as we wish within the settings. So now let's actually move on to the guitar pedals that are going to be on my primary pedal board. Now I'm going to be using the Bosch GT1000 CORE as my primary guitar effects and guitar modeling processing unit. Now this is going to replace my Kemper Profiler, which is what I used to previously use for all of my guitar amps and also all of my delays, reverbs, all those styles of effects. Simply because Bosch GT1000 CORE is extremely small, lightweight, and it's also more powerful than my Kemper Profiler. It can run 24 simultaneous effects blocks, dual amplifiers. It's just got much more headroom in the type of processing that it can actually do. and it's really small and lightweight. So we're going to be using this as my primary one-stop shop for all of my guitar effects, for solos, rhythms, all that type of stuff. Because obviously, primarily, I do guitar looping in my performances because I'm a guitarist at the heart of my looping. So what we're going to have to do is, because of the overall design of a 500 series Boss pedal, you can see we have this sloped design here. So that allows us to have a really nice angle to click the pedals and turn effects on and off. Same's true for the RC-500s because they're 500 series pedals as well. But the problem we're going to have is if we just put this at the top of my pedal board, it's going to make me kick all of these buttons on the RC-500 when I try and turn my distortion pedals on and off. So we're going to have to use a shelf on the back of the pedal board. Now, if you've been a part of this channel for ages, you may recognize this from my original pedal board that I use with my Boss RC-505 and the Nectar Pacer. This was on there, had my expression pedal and a few other pedals on as well. So I've taken that off this board and I've put it onto this super compact pedal board over here. So we're going to put this on the top left corner of the actual pedal board, and we'll put all of my guitar effects on here. So I'll obviously find a more permanent way to mount this shelf onto this pedal board, but for now, I'm just sort of testing things out before we finalize things towards the end of this little mini video series we'll be doing over the next few months. Now, what my plan is with the GT1000 Core is I'm going to use an expression pedal and also an external foot switch. Now you can see here we're very restricted on the amount of space that I actually have available for what I want to achieve. So I've got this really small Hotone 3-in-1 expression pedal. It's a volume pedal, wah pedal, and also an expression pedal. So we're going to use it in the expression pedal functionality, and I'll combine that with the GT1000 Core via a balanced TRS jack, and this will allow me to do volume, wah effects, mess about with like delay or whatever, so I can do a variety of different things with whatever type of track I'm trying to perform. Now I'm going to put this on the end of my pedal board over here, and in the next few weeks I'm probably going to pick up a Boss FS7 external foot switch, which I'm hoping will kind of fit in this gap here, give or take, moving this over a little bit more and that over a little bit more. So then I can have two external foot switches to map additional parameters to the GT1000 Core, whether that be like memory bank up and down or like effects on and off, all those styles of things I can plug in over here. Because obviously the cool thing about the GT1000 Core is the fact we have an expression input and also an external foot switch input on the side of the unit. So there's quite a lot of flexibility in the amount of external pedals we can connect to the device and map to do different things. So this is my plan on the shelf over here, and I think we're going to get some really cool results and a lot more creativity with what we can actually achieve. Now I'm going to run the GT1000 Core direct into Ableton Live, where it will be processed. I'll do compression, EQ, all that type of stuff, and then that audio will be sent out of Ableton Live back into the Boss RC-500s via a submix with a variety of other instruments. So that's how we're going to go about routing audio out of the pedal and then back in, so we can go about looping the actual instruments that I am performing. Now in the bottom right corner of this pedal board, I'm going to place the brand new Boss OC5 octave pedal. Now you may be questioning, why on earth am I using an octave pedal when the GT1000 Core will obviously have all of the octave style effects that I will possibly need? Well, the main reason why is because it gives me an external pedal that I have instant access to turn on and off, but also there's a really cool setting on the OC5 which allows you to play full chords with the actual octave pedal, and it will play the lowest note of that chord just to sort of fatten out your rhythm guitar parts. And especially with me being a one-man band, I need all the help I can get to try and increase my sonic presence coming out of my instruments when I'm playing them individually. So this is going to go down here. It's going to fit absolutely perfectly, and it just gives me quick access to turn octaves on and off if I just need to give my performance a little bit of more oomph, instead of mapping all of that on multiple different patches inside of the GT1000 Core. It's just going to simplify things for me when it comes to setting this up. Now the final pedal I'm actually going to use, and I may not use this permanently, I might actually take this off eventually, is the Strymon Deco. Now I really like the Strymon Deco because it's kind of like a tape delay style effect. You've got tape delay, saturation, all that type of stuff. It gives you a really unique sound, and I actually quite like using it when I'm doing guitar solos, because it gives you like quite a unique saturated overdrive on top of what the amplifier preamps are kind of already doing. Now I could run this through the effects loop on the GT1000 Core, because obviously at the end of the day it's sort of a stereo delay pedal. However, I actually want to run this into the front of the amplifier, one for simplicity, but two, I like the way the saturation reacts to the distortion of the preamps on my amplifiers, whether that be a guitar modeler or an actual valve amplifier that I'm using. So this is just going to be placed over here, and we'll pop that there, and we can have nice instant access to that because the foot switches are slightly different and they don't need to be on this upper shelf. So we're going to send the stereo out of the Strymon Deco into the input of our GT1000 CORE. So we'll connect that now. Now, when it actually comes to inputting the audio into the Strymon Deco and then the GT1000 CORE, we're going to use the point of entry to be the Boss OC5. So we'll input my guitar here, go out of the output of the OC5, and then we'll run this under the pedal board into the input of the Strymon Deco. Then that will complete our loop. We'll go in through the Strymon into the GT1000 CORE and then out into Ableton Live, and then it'll be sent back into the Boss RC-500 looper pedals. Now, if you got any value from today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing for future videos just like this one, taking you through the progress of my brand new live looping rig build. And also, if you want to learn more about your Boss RC-500 looper pedal, check out the link in the video description down below for my ultimate guide series, taking you through all of the different settings on that loop station. But as always, I've been Ben Rollins. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.